watch them bloom for me and you.
Good afternoon and welcome to a new edition of Healing Through Nature. We're going to go ahead and discuss another one of one of the last basic topics that we want to do before we start getting into issues about chronic type conditions. So we've covered so far, we've talked about candida, we've talked about parasites, we talked about little plague issues and so forth and things of that nature. Well, today is the last of the basic ones that we want to discuss, and this one is about nutrition. Nutrition seems to be one of the hardest things most people have to deal with. It's really sad because natural medicine has a great effective ability in treating chronic disease. But the medicines themselves, as I tell many, many patients, the medicines have to have something to work with, building blocks, so to speak. And those building blocks come from nutrition. It comes from your food. Hippocrates, most people who know about Hippocrates knows that one of his most famous phrases, let your food be your medicine and your medicine be your food. We have a great dispensary at the clinic full of holistic medications, lots of herbal formulas that we recommend to our patients. And so the question might be, well, if food is good enough, why use the holistic medications? Well, in a perfect world, everyone would follow a good dietary plan and they would heal. Most of them would. All right, but most people are a little bit bad about dealing with their diet, and so holistic medications are an adjunct to help speed things up. But if most people would basically take on a healthy diet, in time, it is possible that most of their issues would go away. But there's the definition right there. What is a healthy diet? All right, so that's what we're going to talk about for a little bit here today. Why is this not talked about more often? Why do not more doctors talk about diet? Okay, conventional medicine was basically born, or allopathic medicine, what most people consider Western medicine, was born out of a model to treat acute conditions like trauma, infectious disease. But it's a very poor model for dealing with chronic conditions. And we are awash in those today. Obesity, cardiovascular disease, diabetes, stroke, heart attacks, cancer, autoimmune diseases, they're incredibly on the rise. 1990s, it was considered 1 out of 50, in the 1900s, it was considered 1 out of 50 people would be diagnosed with cancer. All right, and yes, the diagnostic tools were not as good then as they are now, but even still, given the case, there was a whole lot less cancer than there is now. In the 1970s, when Nixon declared the war on cancer, it was 1 out of 10. And by the 1990s, it was 1 out of 5, and now it's pretty much the average is 1 out of 2 Americans will experience cancer at least once in their lifetime. And my opinion, though many might disagree with me, is it's due to the diet. This is a cancer diet that goes on in America. SAD, the standard American diet. This is one of the most poorly uneducated countries when it comes to diet and nutrition, which is a very sad thing because what a lot of people don't realize is that in the 1990s, Congress mandated that all doctors in the U.S., were to take courses on nutrition. Well, to this day, only half of medical schools teach courses on nutrition. I'm very blessed that both of mine did, as well as everything else, pharmacology, pathology. And to this day, 94% of U.S. physicians haven't taken a single semester credit in nutrition. Hence, I get very often patients will come in and they'll say, well, my other doctor said nutrition had nothing to do with this problem, when obviously it does. Okay, right now it is considered you are a cancer survivor if you stay in cancer remission more than 5 years. And if a cancer returns after 5 years, it's considered a new cancer. All right, then again, because most doctors will not teach their patients about proper nutrition, and a lot know. You will lose your patient if you start talking about nutrition. Dr. Christopher, the most famous herbal doctor of the 20th century, I would have to say probably the most famous naturopathic doctor that ever lived, often said, if you want to lose a friend, talk about diet. And most of the time they will leave. They don't want to talk about something because it is an addiction. Sugar has similar addictive qualities as opiates do. Okay, and that's been well proven in independent third-party clinical trials over and over and over again. All right, well, Dr. Christopher, again, pushed that, he himself pushed, and when it was really not cool to talk about it, we're talking back in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, so forth, and 80s. The mucusless diet. The mucusless diet is literally a very low processed, raw, almost raw, vegan diet. Absolutely, because we were not meant to eat those animal products, and we'll talk about that here in a few. Well, back to the case of most doctors not discussing nutrition or being willing to take courses on it. You know, when you get your license, when you get your board certification, we're required to go out and get continuing education credits. Every year we're supposed to get so many credits. The thing is we get to pick pretty much where those credits come from, because there is a wide assortment of, and so some of them can be fun to study and some of them not so fun. And it's amazing, almost none of them chooses continuation education credits in the form of nutrition, you know, going after that, and so very few. So JAMA, the Journal for the American Medical Association, polled all doctors in the AMA who meet this criterion. They must be treating cancer patients. They must have cancer patients that are in remission. So that was the criteria. That's what if they could answer this question. The question was a single one-question poll. Okay, so the doctor was to ask their patients who are in remission. Cancer should be a very life-affirming event that occurs in your life. It should be something that causes you to change your perspectives. Again, most people don't, unfortunately. And so the question was, have you, having survived cancer, have you changed your lifestyle in any way? Diet, lifestyle, changed anything about your life, having survived it? Okay. Even the AMA was stunned at the results. Over 90% came back and said they didn't change their lifestyle one bit. Diet, lifestyle, nothing. Because they weren't instructed, they weren't taught how to do it. Hence, most cases of cancer will return within a 5-year period of time because they didn't fix what had originally brought it about in the first place. All right, so Dr. Christopher, he talked about the mucusless diet, a vegan diet. One of the biggest complaints we get at the clinic is over diet. They think they're going to come in there and we're going to give them a natural magic pill that will make everything go away. And this is a true case of where you can't have your cake and eat it too. If that case is, the cake is made sad, standard American diet type style. All right, so most patients, for example, again, our statistics are out of 10 patients that come to the clinic with cancer, 7 will never return after their first visit because they don't want to do the diet. They don't want to change. Those that stay, though, those 3 out of 10 that stay, and they follow the program, we have seen amazing results. All right, no guarantees, but we have seen amazing results. And one of the most important things we do, besides attitude with the patient, is diet. Okay, I say that diet is 90% of a healing process, a healing tool. After that, then the oral medications come in. Attitude is huge. Exercise, sleep. It's a holistic program. So diet, our diet is a vegan diet. And I have heard the complaint so many times that humans, well, most people admit that humans are not carnivores. They automatically think that humans are omnivores. Omnivores means that you can eat anything, pretty much. Animals, plants, that you can. And they say, well, history shows it because humans eat both animals and plants. No. You're not looking at the anatomical or biological imperative of what we're supposed to eat. You're looking at culture, history, tradition. Okay, people have been having wars for thousands of years. It doesn't mean that it's a natural state or something that should be accepted. Just because people have been eating meat and animal products for thousands of years doesn't mean it's a smart thing to do. It doesn't mean that it's appropriate for us to do. We are herbivores. And actually, you can take it a step further, and we are actually what are called frugivores. Frugivores meaning we are mostly fruit eaters, okay, with some other plants that are thrown in there. How can I talk about this? Well, because for most of my life I've been a vegetarian and now vegan. I've been a vegan since 1991, and I have been a raw vegan, a mucusless vegan, a raw vegan for a number of years now. All right, and I have never felt healthier in my life. Uh, what are some of the ways to know to prove whether a human is a carnivore or an omnivore or an herbivore? All right, well, there's a multitude of tests that you can do. And what we're going to be showing throughout this video here are several different slides, and you get to see them as we go through. And I'll try to probably put a little bit more information on the tail end of this as well, so that you can look at some other slides and you can pause and look at the slides. But these are basically trying to show you that a lot of the big beliefs that people have about protein is a myth. All right, protein is important. We have to have protein. But the amount of protein we need is far diminished from what we were originally first taught. And there are proteins that we can assimilate, and there are proteins that we do not assimilate well at all. All right, so you're going to be seeing a picture here or there of these very, very large people, okay, muscle people, and they are vegan weightlifters, vegan muscle builders. Both men and women do an amazing job. There's whole organizations for only bodybuilders who are vegans, all right, because they can assimilate the protein better. Olympic athlete after Olympic athlete is becoming vegan because they find out their recovery rate is faster, that they build muscle more easily. An example is if you take 100 calories worth of beef versus 100 calories of broccoli. The beef will supply you with 6.4 grams of protein. The broccoli will supply you with 11.1 grams of protein, and it will be easier to assimilate. So how do we know the differences? Well, I'm going to go through a few reasons why here, and then we'll talk about the diet real briefly. Okay, and there's so much information out there now on this. I'm just kind of touching on this briefly right now. All right, say you come across a strange animal in the forest. I'm not saying do any of this, but these are things that show you there are 3 easy tests to find out, is this animal going to bite you, eat you, or are they going to let you pet them? All right. And again, I don't say do these things. These are just examples of how. So let's start off with a carnivore. All right. There is a carnivore that exists in everyone's life today. No, just about everyone's life, or people at least are associated with it, and that is a cat. A cat is a true carnivore. It thrives on meat. All right. So let's do the 3 tests to prove why is a cat a carnivore. All right, if you were to take the entire digestive tract out from mouth to anus and stretch it out, the average carnivore's digestive tract is approximately 3 times the length of their torso. A lot of people in error say the length of the body, but that's not correct. It's the length of the torso. And the digestive tract stretched out would be about 3 times the length of the torso. That's actually considered a very short, very tiny length, because as soon as an animal dies, prey in their case, it begins to rot, begins to putrefy. So it cannot stay in there very long. So you'll notice when you see, for example, on National Geographic, you'll see a pride of lions eating. They're engorging themselves. They're trying to eat as much as they can because it's going to go in, it's going to go out, within a very short period of time. It's called transit time. It will go through very quickly. So they have to get as much as they can. And of course they go to sleep because it makes them so tired, sleepy. All right, so 3 times the length of the body. Second test is the stomach acid. The stomach acid of a carnivore on a pH scale is a 1 or less, okay? That's like battery acid, all right, because they can digest anything as far as hooves, fur, skin, bones, flesh, you name it, they'll digest it. All right, last test. You take kitty cat and put kitty cat on a diet of only flesh, nothing else, just flesh. That cat will thrive, okay? You put that cat on only a plant-based diet and the cat will die. One of the reasons is because whereas we can synthesize the amino acid taurine, they cannot. They have to get taurine from their food, so they can't synthesize it, so they would die, if they ate only animal flesh. Only plants, okay? So there you go. Intestinal tract 3 times, digestive tract 3 times the length of the torso, stomach acid at 1 or less, and they can eat meat only, but they can't have plant. They can't live on only plant. Now let's go to an omnivore. A very common omnivore in most people's lives today is a dog. A dog is a common omnivore. They can pretty much eat anything. Plants, animals, they don't really care. All right, they do eat a lot of plants because they're opportunistic. You'll notice if you go out into on the countryside where there's coyotes, you'll see coyote feces, and they'll see that it's usually full of berries. A lot more berries than there is fur. Okay, so let's do the 3 tests on them. Their digestive tract, stretched out, is approximately 6 to 8 times the length of their torso. Because they do eat plant material as well as animal. Plant material takes longer to putrefy. It can stay in there longer. And it's slightly undulated because it means more surface area, a little bit more to digest, get access to the nutrients. Stomach acid, a 1 or less, just like a carnivore. Again, because they can digest pretty much anything. Bones, fur, doesn't matter. Okay, cartilage. All right, last test. Take your puppy dog, put them on a diet of only meat, they will thrive. Put them on a diet of only plants, they will thrive. It doesn't matter. They can do both. Now let's take an herbivore. The common ones we have horses and gorillas, and we have rabbits and cows and such. Okay, let's look at them. Okay, the length of the digestive tract compared to the torso, approximately 10 to 12 times the length of the body, highly convoluted. All right, because it's meant to keep the food in there longer because it doesn't putrefy because it's only plant material, and because it undulated, so more surface area, contact more nutrients. The stomach acid, whereas a carnivore and omnivore was a 1 or less, herbivore is a 4 or 5. That is like 20 times weaker than a carnivore and omnivore because they are not meant to eat animal products. They can't tear this protein down. They can't tear apart the flesh as efficiently. Okay, last test. Okay, take like a rabbit. Try to, if you could, get the rabbit to eat only flesh. That rabbit would die in a very short order. Put the rabbit on only carrots and plant material. Obviously, we know rabbit's going to do just fine. So let's look at humans. Okay, and I'll be going over some of this here in a few. Humans, our digestive tract stretched out compared to the torso of the body, about 10 times the length of the body, just like an herbivore. Our stomach acid, a 4 or 5, just like an herbivore. And last but not least, take a human, which they have seen before, take a human and they all eat only meat. They will die. Okay, they cannot survive. They get rickets and they will die. Cave-wasting diseases. Put a human on a only plant-based diet, myself as an example, they will thrive. All right? So, we are herbivores. And one last test that was fascinating, this just came out not too long ago, and independent trial studies, they found out only herbivores in the animal kingdom get clogged arteries from fat. And what do humans get? Clogged arteries from the fat and cholesterol and such. Humans are herbivores, whether people like it or not. And we have an extremely high success rate when our patients choose to change their diets and change to a healthy vegan diet. Now, there are some very, very bad vegans out there. There is an immense amount of vegan food out there. When I became a vegetarian in 81 and then became a vegan in 1991, there wasn't a whole lot out there. Okay, there were very few vegan pizzas and things of that nature. Now there's vegan Twinkies, and you name it, there is a vegan version to it. And some of it is pretty bad for you. A lot of it is overly processed junk food. But a healthy vegan diet, we see such massive changes in our patients, and it makes the holistic medications so much more effective. And we tell them, if you will just do this, you will spend less money in the long run because you won't be coming to us as long because you can heal faster. When you take the holistic medications with a proper diet, you can heal much faster. I'm a great example of it. Been a vegan now most of my life, and I've been a raw vegan for years. All right, so what did Dr. Christopher push? He called it the mucusless diet, which is basically a raw or extremely low processed vegan diet. Fruits and vegetables, nuts, grains, and seeds. All right, so that's it. And one thing we do at no charge for our patients is to teach them about nutritional education. We figure if they will do that, it will make the rest of the program go better. Okay, so A couple more things I just wanted to go over. Okay, is one more note about some of the differences between humans and others. One of the biggest differences between carnivores and herbivores is the oral cavity. Our teeth were designed differently, and we have a jaw that can go up and down and side to side. Carnivores cannot do that. They don't grind. All they do is grab and chew. Okay, another one is our digestive tract. I talked to you about that. Ours is incredibly longer. That's why one of the fastest growing cancers in the United States right now is colon cancer. You eat that meat, it's not meant to be in a colon as long as it is. It sits there and rots and putrefies. Cancer. Okay, a carnivore's teeth are long and sharp and pointed, and herbivores are not pointed, but flat-edged. Even our canine teeth, so to speak, usually are. And they're meant for grinding, crushing, and things of that nature. Saliva, a huge difference here. Carnivore saliva does not contain any digestive enzymes. Ours does. Okay, most of our digestion actually starts here and then goes down into the stomach. Okay, stomach size. The stomachs differ greatly between carnivores and herbivores. Carnivores have a greatly enlarged stomachs, which encompass between 60 and 70% of their entire digestive system. Ours are much, much smaller because we're meant to process smaller amounts of food. Okay, for example, me, I eat one meal a day. That's it. And maybe with a few little raw snacks here and there. Okay, and again, the stomach we talked about, the stomach, our stomach acid is much, much less strength than even an omnivore's is. Our small intestine, the carnivores or omnivore small intestine is 3 to 6 times the length of their trunk. Okay, whereas man's, as well as other herbivores, is about 10 to 12 times the length. All right. Liver, in relative terms, a carnivore's liver is a tool designed with the capacity to eliminate 10 times as much uric acid as the liver of a man or plant eater, because when you break down animal products, meat, you produce an immense amount of uric acid. Hence, in medieval days, it was considered a rich man's disease to have gout, which was an excessive amount of uric acid, and it would start in the big toe and work its way up. Another one of the forms of arthritis. But it was usually only rich people back then, because only rich people back then could even hope to have 3 meals a day, and meat in some kind of animal product was pretty much in every meal. Whereas the poor back then rarely ever got meat, and if they did, it was a treat. There was usually some kind of grain, porridge, crops from the fields that they ate. But nowadays, gout is incredibly common. We see it quite a bit, and it's very sad to see it in the clinic. Now, yes, gout can be caused by things other than. It can even be caused at times by plant proteins like beans and oxalates and spinach. But that's the exception, not the rule. And usually when we find that happen, we usually find there's something else going on with the patient. For example, hypochlorhydria, like low stomach acid, so they're not breaking their foods down well anyway. Hypochlorhydria is generally caused by low zinc in one's diet, and zinc is extremely deficient in the average American's diet. All right, so nutrition, while it might not be a fun subject for people, we are designed to be frugivores, we're herbivores, and if we eat the way we're supposed to eat, if we have a healthy vegan diet, then it makes holistic medications go much easier, much faster, and it means that you don't have to go to doctors anywhere near as much. As I said, the patients that we've watched who made that change, made the commitment, changed their diets, we've seen miracles. We've seen absolute miracles happen with them, and we've seen them heal. And one of the big questions I often get asked is, okay, if I go through this program, which I don't like, but if I go through this program, and I get cured, will this ever come back? And the answer is yes. If you go back to your old lifestyle, if your genetic propensity is to have colon cancer, your genetic propensity is to have type 1 diabetes, or congestive heart failure, if you have a weakness in your genes that give you the propensity towards these issues, and you go back to the lifestyle that originally brought it on, it can come back. But remember, genetic propensities are simply that, propensities. They are not a guarantee. They're not a guarantee you're going to get it. But if you lead the kind of lifestyle that encourages that kind of issue, it probably will come out. All right, so I'm going to try to show some more slides at the end of this, so you're welcome to watch as we go along. And next time we're going to be talking about other issues. We'll go into more detail about Lyme disease, about cancer, about multiple sclerosis. We're going to start talking about more chronic conditions, though I have had a request to talk about mammography. So I may go ahead and talk about what are considered the pros and cons. I don't see a whole lot of pros there, but we will talk about that probably in our next video. All right, everyone have a most blessed rest of the day. Thank you. Goodbye.
Let me bring you songs from the woods to make you feel much better than you could know.